My next Patreon question is from John, who wanted to better understand the reception towards a certain animated film. Why is Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame considered by many to be tonally inconsistent, and do you think if the movie was darker, that criticism would have lessened? This is a movie that is generally well regarded, and while many do appreciate the film for its willingness to go to such dark places, especially with Frollo, one common criticism is directed towards the lighter elements that made their way in. Fans of Victor Hugo's work especially took issue with the whole idea of Disney even thinking of adapting one of his books. For the most part, directors Gary Trousdale and Kirk Wise did make it as dark as they possibly could within the parameters of Disney's desired G rating. Then again, that was a period when it was easier for an animated family film to attain a G. Most of the 90s Disney animated movies would probably receive a PG if released today. Instead, we live in a world where Frozen has a harsher classification than Hercules, Mulan, and Tarzan, movies noted for their exciting action sequences. Most of the mature tone of Hunchback of Notre Dame comes courtesy of Frollo and his lust for Esmeralda and his desire to rid Paris of the Romani people by ethnically cleansing them. While most of that is done off-screen, and we primarily see Frollo giving orders to his soldiers, what's depicted nonetheless shows the evil of this man. His treatment of Quasimodo also shows what a horrible person he is, as he emotionally manipulates him and makes him feel unwanted because of his disability. The film is generally well regarded for these elements and Disney's willingness to let the filmmakers go there with the story. As I said, the lighter aspects are the most criticized of the movie, especially the gargoyles. They are seen as comic relief that clash with the overall tone of the movie and are a disruption from the darker themes. They are also regarded as annoying and not particularly funny characters, with their humor leaning towards goofiness. Some especially find Hugo, the gargoyle, voiced by Jason Alexander, to grate on the nerves. Personally, while I used to not like the gargoyles, my stance on them has softened over the years. I think they do serve a role in the story by giving Quasimodo some characters to talk to while he's stuck alone in the bell tower. They basically serve as an influence on Quasi, giving him confidence to go down to the Festival of Fools, and thus truly set the plot into motion. Had the gargoyles not been created, it's possible the filmmakers would have had him talk to the bells instead, which would have thematically shown how his loneliness caused him to instead seek companionship from inanimate objects he's forced to spend all day with. That aspect of him attaching personalities to the bells is present when he's showing them to Esmeralda. I think most people's issue with the gargoyles do come when the story becomes more dramatic, and Frollo is burning Paris to the ground later on. It's hard to get much amusement from their wacky antics when you're thinking about the horrible things Frollo is doing outside. We go from a scene of him burning down a cottage with people inside to goofy gargoyle jokes. That's why the movie is seen as tonally inconsistent. The gargoyle's big musical number also feels like it's in the wrong place in the story. When listening to A Guy Like You by itself on the soundtrack, it's actually a really good song. Alan Menken comes up with a fun melody, and Stephen Schwartz's lyrics are especially clever. However, it comes during one of the major dramatic high points of the movie, as Frollo gets even more maniacal and genocidal. Seems like an odd spot to add a comical song, even if the intent is to cheer Quasimodo up. The song even begins with Hugo singing that Paris is glowing this evening because it's on fire, complete with him cooking a hot dog over the flames. I'm not really laughing at the hot dog. I'm instead thinking about the suffering occurring on the city streets below. I personally think the song should have been placed earlier in the narrative. After Quasi helps Esmeralda escape the cathedral seems like a logical spot. The gargoyles also create another question about whether the figments of Quasimodo's imagination are actually coming alive. For most of the movie, it appears to be the former, but then during the final battle sequence, the gargoyles participate in scaring and taking out the soldiers. Aside from the tricks and illusions performed by Clopin and Esmeralda, there are otherwise no magic or fantasy elements featured anywhere in the movie, so this aspect creates many questions. But almost every Disney animated movie at the time ended with a big action climax with the sidekicks joining the hero and helping to defeat the villains, so this was just continuing that storytelling device. Should the Hunchback of Notre Dame have discarded these elements and gone darker? For example, should Esmeralda have died like in the book? Had the filmmakers gone that route, I assume they would have been admired for going in such a daring direction for a Disney animated feature. The Disney higher-ups probably would not have allowed them to completely go in that direction, though. Even Walt Disney knew in some of his darker productions the need for some lighter moments. The gargoyles just seem to clash with the overall vibe of the third act in particular. The stage musical version completely discarded them altogether, so that was that show's solution. But I think the movie just needed to remove a few jokes and scenes and reshuffle some others. Thank you for your question, John.